What's up guys, my name is Chaney from Software Gaming, and today we will be cleaning a Nintendo Gamecube. Alright guys, so here we are with our Nintendo Gamecube. Just a little quick note, this particular model that we're working on is the DOL 101 model. It's the newer model of the Gamecubes. There's two different models. This one was made in China, so basically when you turn it on it's all English. But there is another model, and there's a difference because once you start taking this apart you'll quickly realize this is your analog AV out, and this is your power supply, that DC 12 volt. That's pretty much the DOL 101 model. Here I'm going to, this is my special Gamecube. This model, it's actually Japanese, but it's a DOL 001 model, and it's pretty different compared to the Platinum Gamecube I just showed you. But we're not going to be taking this one apart. I was just wanting to show y'all the difference, and this is the difference. The DOL 001s have the digital AV out and the analog AV out ports right here on the back. And this is the older model, so keep that in mind. But today we will be showing you how to do the newer model, and for the most part these are pretty similar whether they're American or Japanese. There's just a couple of things that are different between all these, and we'll be showing you that here in just a second. So let's go ahead and get this taken apart. We're gonna go ahead and take out these bottom ports right here, just for kicks and giggles. And in order to take this off, we will be using this 4.5 millimeter security bit driver. Wow, this one right here. And if you don't know what it looks like, it's going to be the one that kind of looks like the Fallout 4 vault on it. But anyway, so here we are. You got these four little security bit holes right here. You put your driver in there. And that's it. Alright, so here we go. We're going to take the top case off. And there it is. We're going to put that off to the side. And here is your Gamecube. You can go ahead and take out your back port plate. It just slides on off, no biggie. And this is pretty much it. And this is how we're going to get started. First off, I'm going to show you, you got some screws right here on the side, and they'll go all the way around. These back here, there's one underneath this port, and that one's kind of hard to get to, and you got two on each side of this fan. We're going to go ahead and take the one, and these are all the same size, so don't worry if you're trying to organize your screws. The two screws next to the fan are the same as all the other RV shield screws. So, and this other screw is right here underneath the power button. Now, your fan, it can come off to the side, no big deal. It's not going to hurt nothing. As you can see, it's going underneath the shield. And then it will reveal actually three more screws. Since this is definitely more than 4 screws, I'm going to go ahead and take these out, and when we cut right back, these screws will be off. By the way, we have not finished taking these little shield screws off, but I will note that once you do take the fan off, this port, the main power supply port that was on top of this screw, you'll be able to see this screw and take it out. Alright, Thomas, get back to editing. Quit goofing off. Okay, so we have taken the fan off. we have taken the screws off this shield all the way around. This is the back of the GameCube. Sorry about that view, folks. My towels like to just get all up in the way. But we got these screws out. These screws are gone. Now, your next step would be to pull the faceplate off. And as you can see, it's sitting on 2 posts on each side. All you're going to do is just kind of lift up and kind of pull off and away. They're really clips. I mean, you can pull like the very ends of these clips and it'll come right off. You'll see this ribbon. Watch your laser eye. But grab your little ribbon and just gently tug out. And there it is. Comes on out. There's your faceplate. And now for this next part, what we're going to be doing is using one of these tiny little Phillips head screwdriver bits and be getting these 4 screws off of each side. I'm not sure what those things are. They're clips of some sort, but there's 2 screws in each one above the memory card ports. So what we're going to do is go ahead big meaty claws. Make sure you don't just pull these clips out just quite yet. If you can help it, which I'm going to show you here in a second when I pull this whole thing off, you kind of want to keep these clips, they're facing this way. Make sure them clips are sitting there as best as you can. And here we go. You just kind of gently see the little clip fell off. We'll go ahead and put him back on. But this whole thing, the whole laser disc reader part comes completely off. And we'll get back to that here in just a second. We're going to kind of just work our way to the bottom first. And now, what you're looking at is your heatsink. And in your heatsink are these other little tiny Phillips head screws. We're going to take the same screwdriver, take the heatsink out. Alright, and those generally just stay in there. And what we're going to do is lift up on the heatsink, and if you have the newer model GameCube, which is the DOL 101, your fan is attached to your motherboard right here in the corner. And here in a second I'm going to show you the difference between what I have found in the DOL 1 and the DOL 101. This is the 101. Your fan is attached to your motherboard. As far as your motherboard goes, word to the wise, do not get any moisture on this motherboard. If you do, everything you've done will be for nothing. So we're going to set that off to the side with my big meaty arms. And here we go. We got 1, 2 screws right here on the bottom of this plate. I'm going to go ahead and take those out. So you just go and get them screws out. You lift up. Usually, however I lift this up, that's how I set it in front of me, so that way I know how exactly it goes back in. It makes it a lot easier. Now, here is kind of somewhat at the bottom of the pit. You got this little piece. So I'm going to take him out, set him off to the side, set this little dude off to the side. And you got these little clips right here. These are kind of hard to remember how to set them back in. If you can any way kind of show you like a 3D way of how they go back in, but pretty much set it so back in here. I'm going to set that off to the side. There's a little screw I lost from earlier. Thank you, board. Okay, so here is the bottom of the GameCube. This is pretty much it. As far as the DOL 101s, this is the bottom of the pit, as I like to say. And a lot of times I clean this with magic erasers. Let me pull one out and I'll show you which this one's used, which is really just awesome. Here's a brand new one, but I get these little magic erasers at Walmart. They're pretty cheap. I mean, you can get them in like packs of 8 and 12 and whatnot. Q-tips, water, and a toothbrush, and you can pretty much get out 90% of that dust that just kind of collects on the bottom here. Now I am going to show you something. What I am about to show you, this is the bottom of a DOL 001 GameCube. And what you're looking at here is where the fan and the power button and the power supply port all connect to the bottom of this board at the very bottom of the case. And what you're going to find is that there are 4 screws, like really tiny screws in the corners of this board right here. And once you undo them screws, you can actually take the wire and pull it out. And then there's another kind of metal looking cage right here, a little metal pit right here. And this one's kind of dirty. Aerosol, you know, water, soap, magic eraser. And to put this back in, once everything's dried off and everything's good, and like I said, this is kind of one of the major design differences in these things that I don't see anybody talking about, and nobody mentions it, which is ridiculous to me, but whatever. This little motherboard right here for your fan, just kind of, there's little posts inside, as you can see. There's little bitty posts, and there's little clips in there, and you just kind of line your holes right back in there. Make sure that this little black box right here is up to your top left corner, and feed your wires. There's a gap right here in the casing, and it's in all the casings, so I mean, once you put this plate in, there's a groove right here where you can set your wires off into. And as we're putting this back together, we're going to go ahead and, like so, feed our wires back to that groove. And once we get everything else on top of this, our fan will come into play. Alright, well, sorry about that. We had kind of a weird camera technical difficulty. But anyway, this is the bottom of the DOL 001 model of the GameCube. Like I said earlier, this is the fan that attaches to the very bottom of the console case. 4 screws in the corners of this little board right here, and this whole thing comes out. Just clean with aerosol. The metal part you can clean with water, and of course we're going to leave our fan off to the side because these 2 cords are going to be in this little groove, so we'll be set for that. Now this is for, you know, the older model GameCubes. I just wanted to show you guys that because that's a pretty major difference as far as the fan goes. So moving on back to what we were focusing on, which we are going to be doing this. Now, first thing we're going to do is put our little pieces back in. This little piece is going to be facing like this. We're going to go and put that one in. We're going to put this neat little Space Invaders looking piece in there. And then we're going to put in those little brackets I was talking about earlier. The ones that look kind of silly, kind of look like animal crackers to me. I have a grand imagination, so I apologize if you don't agree. They fit in so right here and right here. And you'll see there are 2 little indentions in the case where they go in. Next we're going to put in our shield, the bottom of the shield, and if it will sit on top of the post, it will sit flush with the case. Next we're going to take our motherboard, and I will say this, as far as the motherboard goes, aerosol, dry toothbrush, as far as cleaning it, just like everything else. And at this point, since our fan is connected to the motherboard, you can go ahead and hit that fan with aerosol. Toothbrush, Q-tips work very well. Normally I hit it with the aerosol first, you know, just, you know, sounds like a little miniature motorcycle there, and I like it. You know, clean all this up because, you know, your fan helps cool your GameCube, and anything electronic that gets dusty, it's just not good for it. But I was going to talk real fast about the motherboard itself. And I've done this a couple of times with personal experience here. If you were swapping GameCube cases, a lot of times, as far as the motherboard goes, if you're going to take a DOL 101 motherboard, which would be the one that has this single port right here, and put it in a DOL 1 GameCube case, make sure that if you take the motherboard out of the 101 and you put it in the body of a 1, make sure and always remember, and this will save you time and trouble, to put your back piece, the corresponding back piece for the DOL 101 motherboard port and all that. See what I'm saying? I mean, this is pretty much the corresponding back console case piece for the motherboard, and it will save you a lot of time and a lot of trouble. Personal experience, I have switched bodies on several GameCubes, switched cases, and did not put the corresponding, you know, back piece with said motherboard that it belonged to, and I had to retake it all apart, and it was a terrible, terrible time. And everyone in the kingdom was very sad. So, next, I'm going to, actually, let's go ahead and tighten these screws back down. And also, while your motherboard is off, it might be a good idea to kind of blow into these little memory card ports. Just little quick tips and whatnot. You know, you can toothbrush the little nooks and crannies of stuff like this. We're going to set this off to the side. Now, we're going to move on to the laser disc reader. And I'm going to go ahead and take the clips off. I'll show y'all how they get put back on. This shield comes off, and there are 4 screws. Oh, no, I think it's 6 screws. Anyway, they're itty bitty, and the only bad thing about doing these, you know, the laser disc part of it, is you have to watch like Sauron's eye here, because if you touch Sauron's eye, he's gonna cry, and it's just gonna be bad, and everything you've done would have been for nothing. So, alright, so here we are. We got the shield off. We took the little screws off. As you can see, you know, this is kind of the important part because of the vent holes right here. Your fan will be right up against these vent holes, so it'd be a good idea to hit them with the air duster. You can even, you know, water, magic eraser. Make sure this thing really dries. Make sure all your metal pieces really, really dry when you clean these things. As far as this, once more, air duster and dry toothbrush. As far as the laser goes, and I've cleaned a couple of these, I take Windex or rubbing alcohol, and the rubbing alcohol might not be good. I don't know. You probably just be way safer if you just use Windex. Just kind of dab the end of a Q-tip and just kind of very gently and slowly but surely kind of go in circles over the lens. You don't want to scratch it, because otherwise you're just going to have to replace this whole chunk of machinery. So just be really gentle with the eye. Make sure, you know, if your hand touches it, you know, hopefully you can clean it with the Windex and it should be alright. You know, as long as you don't just like bear down with it. But if you like accidentally barely touch it, I'm pretty positive that the Windex and the Q-tip will work. But like I said, I hit it all up with the air duster, kind of just get the dust out. Just little certain places here and there. Take a Q-tip, getting all the nooks and crannies, your toothbrush, you know, clean your laser. Now as far as putting this shield back on, it's kind of a pain, but you want to line it back up with this port right here. And it's being silly on me. And you want to take these screws, put them back in their place, and you want to screw this all back together. Alright guys, so we got the screws back in. Here they are, all 6 of them. We're going to go ahead and put our clips back. Remember, your clips, cannot English today, are going to be facing this way. They'll line up with the there's like 2 miniature posts that sit on this little platform. And you want to put your little holes on top of those posts. And then we're going to take this, and we are going to put it on top of our heat sink and our motherboard. And as far as your wires go for your fan, there's a groove on the side right here. That's where your wires are going to go. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. Hopefully and surely you can. Like I said, here's that groove. This is the front of the GameCube. There's your groove, and there goes my clips. And here we go. As you can tell, there's your wires in that little groove, or in that little hole that's cut out. And put our clips back on, and we're going to try to situate this thing back on. There we go. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the 4 screws that belong on top of the memory card ports back on. A lot of times I use little needle nose pliers to kind of just slide those back in. That's because I have fat sausage fingers and I cannot grip the tiny screws because, I don't know, my parents decided it'd be funny to give me Godzilla hands for life. So now I have to live with the curse. So, I'm going to go ahead and screw these on in. And pretty much on any of these screws that we're putting in, see, there's your 2 screws right here on each side of the clip. You don't have to bear down on anything. I mean, just screw it down till it gets tight, kind of nice and snug. No need for bearing down on anything, unless you're just wanting to for the sake of it. Now, we can go ahead and put in our controller plates. You take the ribbon, as you will see, I'm going to point it out. I may even take out my flashlight so we can just all better see what's going on here. That little black square right there, right in between the memory card slots. This little slot right here, you'll see it. Little bitty slot right there. You're going to take the end of your ribbon right here. Make sure your port is facing correctly, facing towards you. And we are going to take the end of the ribbon and just kind of gently push it in. It'll bend right here once you get like the end of the ribbon kind of situated in the slot. And it'll bend as you push down in it. It's not going to mess anything up. Like I said, it's just the ribbon itself will bend. Give it a push, and then that's it. It'll stop. And as far as the faceplate goes, there's a little bit of a groove right here in the bottom casing. So you're going to take the bottom of your controller panel. You're going to kind of slide it into the bottom of the casing over the memory card slots. You probably have to push down a little bit, and it'll kind of fall in there. And place each side with the clips back over the posts, like so. So, the front is done. Now, moving on. As earlier, if you can remember, there were 3 screws right here next to the fan. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put those 3 screws back. And I'm going to show you real fast where they go. You'll see there's 5 of them on this side. If you're looking at the GameCube straight on, it's going to be the left side of the GameCube, and it's going to be the 3 in the middle. So, Godzilla hands, so cooperate with me today. See? Godzilla hands. So here we go. It's going to be these 3 right here. If you can help it, try not to cross thread them, but You might cross thread a couple and it'll be fine. But as you can tell, it's the 3 underneath the fan. So now that we got these 3 screws here that are underneath the fan, if you want to go ahead, not put the fan on actually, because, and this is why, if you go ahead and position your fan, and I'm going to show you, as you position your fan back on top of the shield here, and I'll show you a little bit more about that. Sometimes it can be a bit of a booger because you have to fit it in just right. Yeah, you have to basically fit, I'm going to show you at a kind of an odd angle. As you can see, this part of the fan right here where it's got the indentation, that's got to go right here on this little post right here. So the fan's going to be sitting on top of this shelf and on top of these screws. But we're not going to put that on just yet, and I'm going to show you why. If you do, your power port is going to be sitting on top of that screw, and that is going to cause a lot of headache. Trust me, I have done that multiple times like a silly Billy. So we're going to go ahead, and that's kind of my order of things. I go ahead and put these screws on, put these screws right here next to this port back here. Like I said, your needle nose pliers are kind of a lifesaver, because otherwise these screws, they just kind of jump. So now these 4 back here are done, no matter what model you're working on. These are done. And then we're going to go ahead and cut. We're going to go ahead and put these screws in, and we'll be done putting the main screws back onto the shield. Okay, so now that we're back, we got these screws on the side done. Pretty much all the screws are in the shield that is all around this magnificent cube. Now, as I said earlier, we're going to take this indentation of the fan, make sure your port is facing towards the back. This is your button. We're going to go ahead and try to, it's kind of got like a little Tetris shape going on. We're going to match it with this. And this part can be a little weird. You may have to do a little finagling. Fancy word for adjusting constantly. Let's see. Like I said, it's can be aggravating. You kind of have to work with your wires there. Your wires are going to be kind of the reason it all gets aggravating. You may have to adjust them a little bit, and there we go. I mean, sometimes they'll just slide on in and sometimes they won't, but we're gonna go over to this side, and I'm going to show y'all where the screws go on the fan. You will see there's one to be placed here and there's one to be placed here. This one's gonna be a little bit weird because you got the wires in the way. That one's obviously pretty easy, so we're gonna go ahead, take our needle nose pliers, place one screw there. Place one over here. Work with me, Godzilla hands. Alright, my friends, and at this point, you take your corresponding back plate, depending on which model GameCube you have. And I'm just say it one more time, just for the sake of it. This is the DOL 101 back plate that corresponds with the DOL 101 motherboard. I just like had a fart in my brain, and it just, this part, as far as this goes, you'll see there's a little bit of groove right here in the bottom of the case. There's this groove. You just slide it on down. That's it. Just clicks on there. There it is. And then we're going to take our case, and once more, there's grooves all around the case, so go down nice and easy. We'll flip her on over, and we're going to drop these screws in here. Just drop them on in there, and we're going to take our 4.5mm security bit, and what we're going to do is when you find the head of the screw, kind of back thread a little bit, you'll feel a click, and then you just tighten her on down. You don't want to tighten these down just super hard, because I know in some cases if you tighten them down too hard, actually I believe it is the open button, it's either the open button or the power button sometimes won't work right. It's a strange thing, but I've seen it in many GameCubes, so you just kind of have to be careful with how tight you get these. I mean, usually I just get these snug and that's good enough. I mean, they don't have to just, you know, be tightened like a bear just got a hold of this thing and just decided to do work for you. So just kind of get them snug. Nice and snug here. This one's taking me forever. And there you go. There's the GameCube. Well, that was super duper weird. But here's the GameCube. We've finished it. And here we go. We're going to go ahead and put our bottom plates on. Not totally sure what just happened there. But it is what it is. Here we go. Slide those on. The DOL 101. It does not have a port here. And I'm going to go ahead and show you real fast. This is the 01, and it does have a port right here. So, I mean, that's another little slight difference on these dudes. As you can tell, mine's like the real deal Japanese one. But yeah, this is the GameCube. It's all put together. So what we're going to do now is we're going to readjust our camera real quick. I'm going to go ahead and plug this thing up, and we're going to turn it on. Alright, so here we are, guys. We've got our GameCube hooked up on my very nice but yet cheap TV. And here we go. Drum roll, please. That's the worst one I've ever heard.
I was halfway expecting it to just like catch on fire.
I was too, just to be completely honest. And here we go. I mean, it obviously works. So, congrats to me. And to you. To you who've actually watched this video and took apart your GameCube, put it back together. We appreciate you guys watching. We appreciate everybody who subscribes, likes, comments on our stuff. Remember, if this video has helped you, like. If you're having a horrible day, dislike. Comment. Ask us any questions that you have, or maybe even requests. And also subscribe. And my name is Chaney. I am from Self-Aware Gaming. We just cleaned the GameCube. Congrats to y'all. Thanks for watching, and we'll see y'all next time. I don't know how in the world I always end up with extra screws.
Did you end up with extra screws again?
Yeah. I don't know how I keep doing it. Well, I know 2 of them go to the fan. I always end up with like a couple extra screws. Like no matter what I do.